Hey y'all, welcome back. Prilfoy again, haircutting A to Z, and today we're going to start on our haircut D. A, B, and C. A1 was pretty much description of all the terms I'm going to be using in one form or another through each and every one of the haircuts. A, B, and C was all the haircuts that came down. Now, the V cut in the back, we brought it forward. We directed it forward, but still held it close to the head. And so therefore it's still a 0 to that frontal area. When we did the A line, we brought everything back, but still held it close to the head. Again, no actual elevation. The next few haircuts that you're going to learn, this is haircut D, are going to be everything held straight up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to diagram it for you first. Let me find my marker. Here it is. And we like to make these very casual. We're not here to impress you. We're here to teach you. We want to keep it just as calm and comfortable as we can. As you know, I've been licensed for 52 years. I've been teaching for 32 of those. Intermingle with that, I've done platform work. I'm still doing hair. So to have an industry, what other job do you know of that you can do for 52 years, for God's sake, and still love what you do? Love it so much that we're doing stuff like this. This is 2020. We have our pandemic. I'm hoping that this moves on into the future where you can see that as a history. And what happened with the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of businesses closed up, including the salons, because of human contact. It was a terrible thing that happened throughout the world, so just want to make sure that if it should ever happen again, you've got a little bit of knowledge. Now, before I get started, I want to share with you one of the reasons that I teach you specific areas on the head form and give it names. Everybody's going to have names, all right? People are going to have names. But I've seen some incredible haircuts on YouTube, and the terms that they use, if I were to stand here and say, pick it up like this and cut it here, the chances of you and error happening and us communicating the same language, mistakes are going to be made. It doesn't mean that you're not going to make a mistake with the way I teach you, no, but when I speak to you, if I should ever communicate with you in any form, we're going to know exactly where you're at and exactly what you were doing with it. Some people will call this area here at the parietal line, the upper and lower ridge, they call it the crest. And when we get into clipper cutting, if I tell you cut it up to the crest, that's not enough information. You have to know where that lower ridge is at. We've talked about this before. So anyways, these haircuts are going to be held straight up for a while. So different methods, different ways, and what you're going to learn from it, the variety of cutting is extreme. It just depends on what a client wants. Now, A, B, and C haircut, a lot of people do want it straight across in the back. The V, when's the last time you saw somebody with a V haircut? You might have seen one, maybe two people. The A line, most common with really, really short hair, not necessarily with the longer hair. But that becomes a little bit more common than the V cut. So normally what you see in cutting is the layers, and that's what we're getting into now, is to layered cutting. So I'm going to draw the diagram. Remember the question mark, the number 1, excuse my back, and the number 2, and we want our ear there with the tragus. So we've subsectioned our mannequin at the parietal line. We've brought everything up. We've subsectioned off the flat part of the head, and we've gone through and made our nape subsection, in other words, our happy face in the back. And what we're going to do eventually is take a tip of the ear to tip of the ear across. We may or may not run out of hair. Once you run out of hair, you'll understand, doesn't mean it's going to be bald. It just means you have no hair to cut. Those are terms that are used in the industry. So once we've run out of hair, then you just stop cutting. You don't have to keep making it shorter. So what we're going to do, we're going to subsection. The first cut we're going to do is called side to side. Let me draw a mannequin here with the frontal area. And there's our parietal line on each side. We're going to go side to side on this haircut. Our subsections are going to be about 1/2 inch wide. All of it is going to be held straight up. to blend. And I'm going to speak about it as we do it. Once we're done with the top above the parietal line, then we're going to add the flat part, the back, the occipital, upper occipital, lower occipital, and the nape. The subsections, as we do that, are going to come down. Do you see this? They look horizontal there, but they become vertical as you bring it down. There's a particular reason for this cut. What you're going to have is more movement, more flow. You're going to have a lot of loose lines. The next cut that we do is going to be front to back. I'll explain that later, but I'm going to go ahead and get started here to show you. Let's see, there's my water bottle. Excuse me, I'm going to get my water bottle. There's going to be a lot of length taken off of this mannequin. This is a much nicer mannequin than the caps that we put on. I've shown you those before. So I'm going to get that really, really wet. And what I'm going to do, so that you can really see this, and you could either do it, once you become accustomed to cutting, you could do it across, or you could do it half and half like I'm doing it right now for you. The reason I'm doing it half and half is it's easier for people that don't know how to cut to get this. If I take it all the way across, I know how to do this. At this point, you don't. So I'm going to hold the mannequin slightly in front of me. I'm going to stand behind it. And as I said, I'm going to take, again, remember how to hold your shears? The shear has to be held straight. Remember the fingers here, the index finger and the middle finger pivot the shear up and down like that. The thumb kind of rolls it. You're going to hold it on the balls of your fingers. You remember that. This is the secondary position. So I'm going to subsection. Let's hope that our little mannequin here behaves. And she doesn't want to, but we're going to do it anyways. Bring her over, because she'll turn now then in front of you. And what I'm going to do, don't do this to your client. I want her to stay there. And again, be careful how you're holding your shear. And you notice that this is right at the center frontal. The reason for that, do you see how this curves forward? Does the same thing on a client. It curves forward just like your own head form. So this is going to be our first guide. I'm going to take off about 1 inch. I'm going to drop that. I'm going to then take another subsection. And what this is, I'm going to take that previously cut hair right next to it. See, I'm not taking it all the way to the perimeter line. I'm inside the interior now. So I'm going to bring that again, straight up, making sure that everything is straight. Now, do you see your guide? Do you see it? All right, again, shear perfectly straight. I might have to bring my elbow up a bit to get it. And then another subsection, about 1/2 inch. So you see that we are traveling back, but this is cut side to side. So I'm going to just keep going. There's my guide. Cut it straight across. Another subsection, and I'm only taking it to the parietal line where I've sectioned it off. Now normally, I'll be honest with you, when I do this haircut on a client, I don't section. I already know where I'm at. I know where that parietal line is at. So because I know where I'm at, I know where I'm going. And that's a key factor. I've told you before, you're going to hear that phrase. And again, just a slight piece off of that last one, as close as I can get it to this section. There's my section, making sure that everything is straight. In other words, that we're not at an angle. Everything is straight up from the parietal line. And just keep traveling back. And make sure that it's totally wet. And just a small section from the previously cut hair. And you see that there's quite a bit of length coming off of this little one here. Okay, and you can see that my line is still straight because I'm cutting straight across to that center apex, and I'm going to travel all the way back to the vertex. It's just above the parietal line, you know exactly where it's at, but as you go back, it's gonna widen just a bit. You wanna make sure that it's equally moist, equally wet. And what this is gonna do, it's gonna create a lot of layers in the hair. But the thing about those layers, this particular cut is going to create a lot of movement in the layers. Bring that up just a bit, and as you can see, I'm gonna show you. I'm picking it up and still bringing it straight across. So when you get beyond the apex, and you're going back to that center crown, your subsections become slightly pie-shaped. It's a little wider here and a little more narrow here because this is rounded, and you're going to then be coming back on it. Don't be too concerned if it's not, if you haven't gotten it that way, but you want to try, and once you get beyond the apex, to do that. Now I'm going to bring this straight up, and this does get, remember these mannequins have been chemically treated, get a small section off of that, and I'm going to have to pound her head again here in a minute. If she keeps popping up, there's my guide. Again, it's straight, and bring it straight up, traveling down to the, and all I want is just a small section of that. I don't want that to travel back. I want just that fine line section. And as you see now, I'm coming back, see how this rounds down? You see that? You see that it rounds out. So these sections are definitely going to be slightly more pie-shaped. I hope you can see that. All right, that rounds out. So I'm going to turn this back around. Again, 1/2-inch subsections, bring it up, and they're starting to get narrow again. They got a little wide just after the vertex. Just after the apex. And now they're narrowing down because it's going back to the bottom of that circle. I don't need all that hair. I just need a small section, there you go, to get my guide. And pick up the last one here, small section, get my guide. You can see that that's coming straight up, cut it straight across. And what makes it nice about this cut, you can see it a lot better than the other ones, because the other ones I almost had to stoop down, I had to put my hand in front. Excuse me, I am female. All right, so I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to bring the next section down, and again, I'm standing behind it so you can see it. And I want to get it equally wet, make sure I don't trip on anything or make anything fall. Like I said, we try and keep these classes just as natural and normal and comfortable and real as possible. Because we're not here to show off, we're here to teach you. And we hope that you get this. We hope that if you really want to do this, that if you're feeling like, you know what, I'm liking cutting hair, think about going to a beauty school, really investigate it. But the biggest thing that I tell my students when they sign up, or when they choose to go to a beauty school, or if they go to a different educator than myself, and I'm not offended when students will say, Miss Foy, why did you do that and how did you do it? Those are two extremely important questions to ask, because it's going to be in your mind. Hang on. There, stay down, Nellie. Anyways, it's going to be in your mind. You're going to wonder, how did they do it and why did they do it? But you're not going to ask because you're going to be afraid to ask, or you may think, well, I don't want to make them feel bad. Teachers, do you know what they like to do? Teach. So please ask them. And then have them, just say, could you show me step by step why you did it, how you did it? That's why I take so much detail on this, to show you why and how. I'm taking all these tangles out. This mannequin ought to be a lot better when we're finished. If you order mannequins, they normally do come with a stand. They're not big like this. You can order these too if you want. The only thing is, it's like, okay, this is a universal one, but it doesn't mean that the mannequins are universal. They're made for their own stands. And the stand on this one is a clamp. It's just a very small one. That's called a clamp stand. And it's just a very small one, and I couldn't be showing you this without it, with that particular mannequin stand. Okay, so now this is going to become real easy for you in doing it in this form. Because now what we do, instead of pulling the hair off to the side, again, I want to take just a small section up front here, and all I do now is take a small section from the other side. And that's my guide. Don't have to worry about bending or moving it. That's my guide. Okay, so I'm going to take this across. I let that fall down. And again, be careful with your shear that you don't stab yourself with it. I shared that with you. There you go. Can you see that? Can you see my guide right next to it? That's all I need. I don't need any more than that one little piece to go across. That's it. Okay, so bring it back. I'm not bothering with that front anymore. This is getting a little wider. And when you get the mannequins, remember they've been chemically treated. So they're going to be tangly. They're going to be a little hard to manipulate. Shampoo and condition them, preferably with a good professional shampoo. There's my guide. Do you see that? Can you see this little guide right here? That's it. I'm putting it right there. All I need is that little tail. That's getting cut off, so I'm not worried about combing it all out. As long as that on the bottom is cleaned up, and it is. Now I want to show you something. Okay, I've got a little long one right there that I missed. It's pretty straight. Okay, so the one thing about longer hair, there's room for error. You can hide it. It's when we get into the shorter cuts that the detail is going to become even more extreme, because with shorter cuts, you can see the errors. If you look at clipper cuts, for instance, you can see the little dark spots on their scalp. Those are indentations. Okay, see, now I'm just taking my guide right here, bringing it, making sure that my fingers are straight across, and that's straight. I'm not pulling it one way or the other. Everything is straight up. Let me get the one right next to it there. Everything is straight up. Nothing different. Straight up. Coming back to the crown, it's my section now is getting a little bit smaller. I'm going to comb that out. Get that out of the way, and all I'm using is that hair off of that center part, and I'm not going to worry about taking those tangles out. I'm going to move it this way because you can't see it where I'm cutting, and just utilizing my guide, as you can see inside. All right, so I'm back at the vertex. I'm back at the parietal line, and I'm going to bring that all up, straight up, and take off what I don't need. Bring that forward. Please be very careful. Again, with your shear, I'm palming my shear. However you do, you need to be very careful how you're pulling that. Like I said, these mannequins, they do tend to tangle. They've all been chemically treated to create that, and any single chemical service to the hair shaft. And I don't need all that hair. All I'm looking for is the hair on the side. Any single chemical service to the hair shaft is like taking a feather and ruffling it back 3 times. So these commercials that you see that tell you that you can do this, you can do that, you can cut it, you can do whatever you want, it's not true. Your hair can only take so much before it says, I'm not doing anymore. And they try and tell you that you can make it look natural again. No, you cannot. Okay, I'm going to comb this back to get it out of the way. Come on. You've got to listen because you're the model today. Okay, now I've got this section here, flat part of the head, correct? All right, I'm going to move that over. I hope that you diagram this. I hope that you take the time, because you can always pause it, write the directions down. So you can go back, look at your directions, and understand what you're doing with it. What I'm doing with it is teaching you. What you do with it is learning. All right, so now I'm just going to subsection it off to the upper ridge. That's all. I'm going to comb the rest of the hair over, and I'm subsectioning this off to the upper ridge. I'm going to take vertical partings. Vertical partings right here, off the flat part, all the way down. Okay? And again, remember this travels back. So I'm going to take that section there. Got my vertical part, very little to cut. All right, and this line here is my guide. I'm not bothering with anything else. That area at the upper ridge becomes my guide. But what I want you to see, this haircut, do you see where I will be running out of hair to cut? Do you see this? That's what I'm saying. Now in the back, I won't. So I'm going to bring this up to the guide. This is off the front. This is off the perimeter line at the front. So leave it alone. Don't use that as your guide. Your guide is up here on your previously cut hair, not the hair that has not been cut with this haircut. Okay? So I'm going to bring a straight line again. Bring it straight up. And again, this is not going to be cut. It doesn't reach. But the hair at the lower ridge does. So I'm going to get that out of the way. Bring this down. Bring that all the way up. And you're beginning to see that the hair at the lower ridge is the only area that needs to be cut. As we increase and lengthen the back, we're going to have something to cut. This was brought forward, cut shorter. This hair traveled to the front. What happens when hair travels? It becomes longer. So you're going to see that we're going to have hair to cut in the back. So I'm going to bring that last section down, and we're going to do the other side real quick. There we go again, and you see that did not need to be cut. It's already done. And you see the layering coming in. See that layering coming into that. All right, now I'm going to come over to the other side. I'm going to move my mannequin. Well, I told you I may drop her. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Tilly. I'm sorry. I apologize. See, if you say you're sorry, you'll never do it again. So I had to apologize because this is the second time I've done it. So, and I apologize to you guys too. But like I said, these classes are real. This is not pretend. This is just to show you methods, show you ways, and hopefully show you results, so that when you watch a videoed haircut, you can see and really know what they're doing and possibly do what they do. All right, so I'm going to take this one down. We usually try and let our haircuts run about 30 minutes. This one may go over just a little bit. I don't want to work so quick that I lose you, that you don't understand or that you don't get information. So I hope that I can keep your interest on this. And again, I'm only taking the hair at the upper ridge. Do you see? Because we both know, where's the upper ridge? Well, there you go. That's the upper ridge. Where the comb leaves the head, right there. You can see it. If I bring it up, I mean, you can't, maybe you can't see it, but see, the comb has left the head right there. So I'm going to put that right there. So that's my line. That's the upper ridge. We're both speaking the exact same language. We both are going to be cutting in the exact same spot, unless you take it to the parietal line. So we're not taking this to the parietal line. We're only taking it to the upper ridge. And when I cut the back, I am going to turn her around for you to continue to see what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to comb this down. And I'm going to go ahead and take this clip out back here so it doesn't drive us crazy. Okay, so I'm at the upper ridge again, making sure that it's a straight line across. I'm going to bring vertical line down, bring this straight up, Here's my guide. Okay, it's annoying. Yeah, one little piece just like we had on the other side. That's it. All right, so now, and remember the hair needs to be uniformly wet. You've already seen how the difference, when it dries, it shrinks up a bit. One little guide right there, so we can see what we're doing. And again, we don't have enough hair, so we're just going to cut, and everything is held straight up. And are you beginning to see that the sections that are being cut are the areas of the lower ridge? The upper ridge is our guide, and the only area that's being cut is right here at the lower ridge. So that sometimes that kind of stuff is fascinating even to me, especially, you know, having cut for so many years, and to see the head form and how knowing where you're at and knowing where you're going becomes extreme. Being able to be successful in hair cutting. Okay, again, straight across, and you can see that that is not enough hair. So I'm going to, now we're starting to go to the back, behind the ear. I want you to see that. See, I have finished this area here, and that's right at behind the ear, all right? That's my flat part. The hair now, and see, flat, it ends right there. We're starting to curve around the head form, so I'm going to bring now this hair forward, because that parietal line, what happens when you did the top, and that parietal line, that upper ridge, becomes the wall that guides you. If you want to look at it that way, if that makes it a little bit more simple for you. But see, as I comb this up, I'm combing it up at the parietal line. So if you didn't know, what would I say? You comb it up from here. Well, from here is not enough information for you. It's at the parietal line. So now we're both speaking again the same language. And you can see that the hair is much longer in this area. We're just going to go to the center occipital. And if you subsectioned it, we're not going to travel down further when we section it. We're just going to go to the center occipital. So this area here. And we're taking vertical partings. Our parietal line is our guide. We're not going above that or into that. We're staying along the parietal line and creating a kind of a wall. All right, so, and this mannequin does have a lot of hair. She's a little bit more difficult to work with. I'm going to the area only behind the ear. And center ear. Again, you see that below that is not going to happen. So I'm going to travel around and only going to the tip of the ear. I'm not taking it down to the nape yet. And I'm going to travel around. And you see, I'm going to turn this around so you can see my guide. But what I'm doing is I'm traveling in this form. I'll show it to you in just a minute. Again, I'm going to go to the back. I'm traveling in this form. I'm not shifting one way or the other. So, and rule of thumb, always side to center, side to center. I'm going to come back over here. I'm not traveling around that way because you tend to pull it differently when you do that. And you notice this was cut side to side. This is cut vertically. All of it. And this one at the center, don't do that to your client, but you can see that I am taking just a scotch off right there, off of this area, and that's going into the nape. Center occipital going into the nape. Okay, come on. Okay, so you see a little bit more layering in there. You see it popping up and moving a little more. Now I'm going to go over to the other side because we do side to center, side to center. So I'm going to start from right that area behind the ear. I'm going to bring it straight down to the center occipital right there horizontally, ear to ear, and I'm bringing it straight up. Here's my guide. All right, I've got a little guide right here that I can see. So again, traveling vertically and traveling around the head form. It's very important that you understand that. This is it's called the 180 degree haircut. Surprisingly enough, if you want precision haircutting, you would put your protractor here, 0, 180. It's called a 180. Is it a 180 in this area? No, not from where it grows, but we call it a 180. You can talk to your stylist and say, I want the 180 haircut. They're common language. She knows exactly what you're talking about. Saying you want it held straight up could work as well, but she'll have a few more questions for you. The 180 is just technically known in the business. Okay. Again, see my guide? And so my hair is a little bit dry, and I'm going to come to the center now, match it up. See, there's not that much to cut. Okay, now we're going to take care of the nape. I'm going to go ahead and part it down the center. I'll be doing this cut again. We'll be doing it side to side on one of the other mannequins, so you can see the difference. And I'll be showing this mannequin so you can see how everything pops up. Now this is a lot of hair. If somebody says, I want movement, I want choppy, this is going to do it, all right? But they don't want to lose length. So that's why length, right, when hair travels, gets longer. So their length is normally at the nape area. Now this is one thing I want you to take note of, right here where it's dry. You notice that we cut it side to side. Do you see that line right there? That's what a horizontal line is going to do. So there's ways, I mean, she's probably not going to wear it coming back, but you can see these horizontal lines. But many times, those become questions, and that's where your texture shear comes in, or that's where point cutting comes in. Okay, so I'm just going to do the nape, the area at the nape. I want to wet that down really good, and all I'm going to do, I'm not pulling the other hair out of the way. Everything will be pulled up. I'm going to have a really, really good guide to work with. My alarm may be trying to go off, so I just gave it just a few more minutes, because we're just about finished. And we're going to bring this straight up. This is haircut D. Haircut E is very much the same, only cut side to side. The difference is going to be with this one, we want movement. We want it scattered. Now, would we take care of, and I'm going to show you the corners, the definite corners that are going to be there. These are things that your stylist, when she does your hair, will kind of do those little nip things that you see them doing. So this time, here I am behind the ear. I'm going to bring it straight down. I'm going to bring this straight up. Again, 1/2 inch subsections, side to back, side to center, side to center. And there's nothing to cut. Okay? That's what I mean. When there's nothing to cut, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Don't cut what you think just because you didn't cut. There's a reason for that there, and that has to do with the head curving in. That has to do with it is shorter here. That's the perimeter line. Your longest point. You know what? I'm going to have a question for you. I'll give you the answer next cut. Where is the longest point right now on this haircut? So I want you to, when you do this cut, okay, I don't need to cut anything. Again, you can see if I do, it's extremely small amount. Now let's go to almost the center. We should have something there. Again, a 1/2 inch subsection. And many cuts can be combined with other cuts. It's you knowing what you need to do to take care of that. Again, nothing to cut. I'm going to get rid of these little scragglers I've got, but there's nothing there. And the center back, I'm going to bring it straight up for you to see it. Pull this up. And like I said, this mannequin has a lot of hair. The next haircut's going to be a little easier because the other mannequins don't have as much hair. I love this mannequin, but you can see the layers. And I'm going to give you some whys on why, corners, stuff like that that you might see up front. I'm going to tell you why they're there. There may be a corner in the back, and I'm going to tell you why it's there. But after a while, you'll know why it's there. Okay, a few little scragglers there. There's nothing to cut. I'm just going to bring it all up because I know there's not going to be anything to cut. A little scraggler. All right. Now what you see here on the side, okay, do you slightly see this corner right here? Do you see it? The reason that corner is there is because of this corner. You took it to a stationary position and you cut it, so this corner then is going to reflect that. That's when you see your stylist come up, pull it forward, maybe point, cut that off. I'm not going to do that. This area here was our original guide. We took it to this length. It's going to be straight across because we marked it straight across. Later on, I'm going to teach you how to correctly cut bangs along with an asymmetrical cut. So this area here is going to have that corner again because it finishes off with this corner inside. Architecture, geometry has everything to do with hair cutting. Now, you're not going to ask your client to stand on her hands, all right? But when I'm teaching students, and I want to make sure that they got this cut correct, this is what we do. And this will teach the student that they do it right. Do you see it flat? You can't ask your client to stand on her head because, you know, do a handstand for me, would you? I got to check my cut. No. You see that this was all held straight up. At the only area, again, this hair's traveling. Even though it's longer, it doesn't express length, but it's slightly rounded in the back because we had nothing to cut. So when if this was shorter, it would tilt up just even a little bit more. But you see that it's straight across, straight all the way around. Cutting it side to side, very layered, a lot of movement. You see that hair moving in different directions where there's a lot they can do. Now there's a specific, remember, we did it side to side, traveling back to the vertex. This is a 180 haircut. You know, if you want to get rid of those corners, you can. It makes it easier, it makes it nice. One thing about having that corner there, it cups under real nice when you blow dry. Also, if they say, I still want to be able to pull it up, you don't want to get rid of the corner, because if they want to be able to pull it up, you want that corner there so they can pull it up. This haircut can be done on very long hair. It can be done on hair to the shoulders, not necessarily shorter hair, but yeah, you can do side to side, and we're going to be doing them when we do our clipper cutting, surprisingly enough. Let me share something with you about this 180 haircut. It is the exact way that you're going to do a flat top. Only, remember the top was flat, right? Much shorter. That's the difference in it. I hope you've learned something today. I hope I've been able to give you some information. You'll see a variable when I do this cut again. The other one's going to be done front to back, still traveling back, but you're going to hold that area below the parietal line just a little bit different. I hope that you diagrammed it. Read your diagram. And, my recommendation is do it on a mannequin. You can try doing it on a person if you want, on your daughter if you ever want her to speak to you again or whatever, but it's up to you. This is telling you how. It's not showing you how. Have a great day. God bless. Hope to see you again.